Here's what bad looks like. Okay, that's bad. Here's what a good clean one looks like. Boom.
I don't wanna go back home. I'll keep going all night long. I don't wanna go back home. I'll keep going all night long.
What's up, guys? So there's a million squat videos on how to squat, form, technique, but what I actually noticed there's not a lot of is the setup of a squat, and this is actually where people make the most mistakes. This is actually one of the areas where Brett Gibbs, back when he was coaching me, helped me improve upon, and that made a huge difference in my squat. So really quick, I'm gonna show you two examples of a squat unrack. The first one, right here, this is the wrong way to unrack and what you see very commonly in gyms. So here is the correct way to unrack a squat. Did you notice any huge difference there? Check it out, I'll go with you right now. So this is what a lot of people do. A lot of people get really amped up to go into a big squat like this. They get all fired up, stomping, huffing, puffing, and screaming. They get under it, and what people like to do, because you want to get your adrenaline going, you want to come strong off the rack, is they'll get fired up, they'll just get under it and jam their backs up, because everyone wants to pop that weight up nice and strong, right? It feels a little more confident that way. So what people do is they stay nice and loose, they're walking around, and then last second, then they stay loose as hell, then last second they jam that weight up on top of them. That's the first big mistake. The second big mistake is they do this. Huge walkouts, multiple steps, and not bracing when you walk out. So let's start from the very beginning. When you get under a squat bar, you want to load that tension on your body before the weight comes off the rack. This is huge. So if you're getting all hyped up, and I used to do this a ton, most people do, and you get under this bar and you're loose like this, stomping and yelling, see how loose I am right now? There's literally, the bar is dead weight on these racks. I can move my whole body, I can shimmy underneath, that's loose. Then the last second, I go 0 to 100, boom, pop it up. That's gonna be a huge shock to your body. A good comparison is if you've ever been bench pressing and you have someone give you too aggressive of a lift off, they yank it way out and suddenly drop it on you. It's like suddenly there's no weight in your hands, and then out of nowhere, boom, all the weight's on top of you. It kind of shocks you and it throws off your rep a little bit. That's essentially what you're doing to your body if you stay loose and just drive the bar up at the last second. You're so loose, you're not tight at all. It's gonna cause a few issues. One, you're so loose here, you probably didn't take time getting your upper back nice and tight. You didn't get your lats packed in nice and tight. Your hips are probably not engaged correctly. So what you'll usually see is once they unrack it and they walk out, they do this. They adjust, they shimmy a little bit. You don't want to have to do that. A, that's wasting a lot of energy. Doesn't seem like a lot of movement. When you're under a max weight, 3 times your body weight or something, any little extra movement under that is energy you could be putting towards getting that rep up. And then B, you're leaking tightness. You want to stay tight in a squat. Another comparison with the tightness would be like a car jack or a car lift. You go and jack a car up on that lift, you want the hydraulic to be tight, right? You don't want any wiggle room. You don't want to be able to like wiggle a car jack and have it start sliding down on you with the car on top of it. That's not tight, that's dangerous. It's not sturdy, it's not stable. Same thing with a squat. You don't want any tightness. You won't be able to move at all. Your body should be cemented into a locked position, no wiggle room at all, totally rigid. So those are the two things. You want to stay tight, and you also want to load the weight, load the muscles with that weight before you even take it off the rack. So when I go to unrack, I'll get under it. First I'll feel out my back, I'll go really low, then come back to where that shelf is. I squat low bar. If you squat high bar, same sort of deal. Wherever you squat, just take your time to find that positioning. Dig it in, get those shoulders tight. Right now my shoulders are already flexed hard. I can feel my upper back fatiguing already from how tightly I'm flexing my scapula, retracting the traps. Find your bar positioning, push against that rack as I'm pushing right now. You don't have to go crazy and knock the rack over, but definitely have some tension in there. Push against that rack. And you'll see once I get my feet underneath it, the bar already wants to start lifting off the pegs. I'm not actively trying to squat it up right now. I'm still setting up, but there's so much pressure being built against the bar that as soon as I get my feet into a squat position, it wants to start lifting up already because I have all that pressure loaded in. My hips are ready to go, my upper back is tight and rigid. My body is forcing this bar up right now. That's how you want to be. The exact amount of power and tension you have under the actual squat itself is how much tension and power you want to get, push against that bar when you're just getting underneath it. That's going to load your body. Muscles are like an elastic. It's called elastic tension. So you want to have that tension all built up when you go to take the bar off the rack. So that makes a huge, huge difference. So get under the bar, get tight first, get in that position real fucking tight. Then start pushing against the bar. Load that bar. Load that bar with the same muscles you're going to be loading the squat with. Glutes, driving into the hips, driving into your rigid, tight upper body. Bar should be hovering off the racks. That's going to make you nice and tight. Part 2, the walkout. When you unrack the bar, don't just, yeah! You want to brace into your belt. Deep breath, Valsalva maneuver. When you brace for a squat, you breathe into your stomach. You breathe into all 4 corners of your torso. You're pushing out against that belt. It's going to create that tension that keeps your spine and torso nice and tight and rigid. You want to do that as you unrack this bar. That's again going to give you a strong unrack, a very confident beginning. It's going to keep you tight. So get under the bar like I just showed you, loading the bar, pushing against it, tension, 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 tension. Then when you go to unrack it, just like you're doing your first rep. Big inhale, big brace. And you see, I'm not sitting there squatting it up. I'm literally just locking my hips into position. And everything is so tight that by simply pushing my hips into their position, my body goes erect. Everything sits right up. And I don't even have to sit there and try to squat it up. Everything's so tight and loaded right now. Boom, that easy. Then when you walk it out, same thing. Don't want to do a million steps. Your walkout should be 2 to 3 steps, nice and easy. If you look at my feet real quick, once I have the bar on my back, you want to do 1 small step, 2 small steps. You might or might not need to do a 3rd step just to get in your position, especially for like a wide squatter. You might unrack with a narrow stance, 1 baby step back, 2 baby step backs, 3rd step just to get into that wider position. You don't want to do more than 3 steps, and you don't want to make them big steps either. Again, the bigger the step, the more loose you're liable to get, because now you're all over the place out here. You want to stay compact underneath that weight, center of gravity, compact, and you want to stay tight. So the bigger the steps, the looser you get. And again, the more energy you end up wasting with those bigger steps. So small.
A good rule of thumb Brett actually gave me when he showed me this is when you've completed your squats, you should be able to allow yourself to just tip forward and the bar should land right back in the actual pegs. If you were to tip forward and the bar looks like it's going to miss the pegs and fall short of them, you're probably too far away. So you want to be kind of uncomfortably close to the pegs. It feels awkward. You're afraid you're going to hit the pegs during your squats when you're that close. But that's why perfecting your squat and your bar path comes into play. Because if your bar path is straight, you won't hit the pegs and it's a short walkout.
Loading the bar, big brace. And then again, you want to brace every step too.
To be clear, you don't have to take a new breath with every single step like I just did. That was simply one example. You can take a big breath of air in, brace for the unrack, and hold that breath for the entire walkout as well. Or you can take a big breath of air in, brace for the unrack, exhale, then take a new breath of air in and hold that 1 breath of air for all 2 to 3 steps. So there's no right or wrong way to do it. You just want to be braced and tight when you walk it out.
You don't want to be tight on the unrack and then suddenly la-di-da on the way back, because that's a lot of weight shifting. You're taking 1 step back. All that weight's going onto 1 leg temporarily. Think of unbalanced like this. Now all my left side is getting more pressure. That's why you want to have the steps be small, so everything's still over the center. But that's also you want to be braced and tight for each step too. Tight, tight, small steps. And then you're ready to go. Take a second, re-brace. And then you're ready to squat. So I apologize if that was a little scattered and all over the place. I do everything off the top of my head as always. But these are the most important steps that so many people miss. Everyone learns how to do a beautiful squat and the actual rep of it. But these first steps are crucial. Trust me, when you get that initial loading of the bar and then bracing in the unrack down, your heavy max will suddenly feel nice and light on your back, and you'll have so much more confidence. You take that walkout slow and steady, keep everything tight, close together, centered, so you're not out here, you're not doing anything bilaterally, and you're not leaking any power, you will feel 1,000,000 times better. And a little key with that walkout too is the heavier you get, the more the bar is gonna wanna flex. Every time you take a step, you'll feel the bar kind of jiggle a little bit. The heavier you get, the longer you want to take your time with each step. So when you unrack it, let it settle for a second. Take that step, let it settle. Take that step, let it settle. Then let it settle before you brace and start. That's another thing, it's gonna start gyrating you, and if you walk out too fast with all that whipping, it's gonna pull you out of balance, even subtly. And it may not pull you out of balance enough to knock you over, but it'll definitely be enough to where you're wasting energy trying to stabilize that bar. Not to mention it might throw you out of balance and make you misgroove in the middle of the rep. So take your time. So one last time, here's what bad looks like. Okay, that's bad. Here's what a good clean one looks like. Boom. That's it. Shout out to Nicole for filming this whole thing for me. One of the head trainers here at Ultimate Fitness. Badass, major transformation she's made. That's her story to tell. Hopefully we can get her to tell it on camera soon. A beast with the recipes, macro-friendly recipes. She actually helped me with a lot of tips for my own binge eating issue and helped me out with that. And she just carried this heavy ass camera for that whole time. So shout out to her. And Josh over there doing nothing.
Yeah.
Hope to see you guys here tomorrow, October 19th, Saturday, noon, 12 p.m. Big grand opening event. So there's gonna be some vendors, some supplement samples, but I'll be here at 12. Everyone's invited, come on, train with me. Even if you're training something different than me, we can go over form or we can just shoot the shit. It'll be fun.